which is described in the Quran as Rome, has its headquarters in Russia. So when the Prophet said that you'll make an alliance with Rome, of course this is Akhiru Zaman, that you're going to make an alliance with Rome in Akhiru Zaman. Akhiru Zaman doesn't come to the world until you see the tall buildings, huh? And so we are now seeing the fulfillment of that prophecy. Iran is in an alliance with Russia already. Pakistan is moving towards the same thing. And if NATO attacks Iran, then Turkey will have a civil war. Because the blind, the deaf and the dumb Turkish government, the deaf, dumb and blind Turkish government, which still remains a firm and faithful ally of NATO, and which supported NATO in its occupation of Libya, the deaf, dumb and blind Turkish government, which is supporting NATO in its attempt to make of Syria another Libya. That deaf, dumb and blind Turkish government still remains in NATO. But the Turkish Muslim people would say enough is enough. And there will be civil war in Turkey. The Turkish government could be listening to me, it doesn't matter. Because this is going to come. And NATO is going to be thrown out. And when NATO is thrown out of Turkey, that will be the conquest of Constantinople, which is there in the Hadith. That's coming. I don't know how long. But the question I ask, if we are going to make an alliance with Rome, how come we sent our people to the Negus of Abyssinia? Answer is that the alliance in Rome is in Akhiru Zaman. Any more questions? London has been doing it. There's a certain part of London where you have all these exchanges, the cotton exchange and this exchange and that exchange, the gold exchange. And the Zionists are furiously at work there in manipulating price, particularly the price of gold, more than anything else the price of gold. So it's not a free and a fair market at all. It's a very cleverly disguised, manipulated market for ensuring that the price of the commodity is fixed where they want it to be fixed. We, on the other hand, stand for a free and a fair market with no control at all over the market, so that market forces by themselves will determine prices. Okay? Who is going to control the money when the US dollar collapses? The electronic money answer, the banking system. The banking system is going to be far more powerful than any government in the world today. And who controls the banking system? It is not an anti-Semitic statement for me to say that European Jews, the Zionists, control the banking system. That's the truth. That's a fact. And if we're not allowed to speak facts, we might as well go and live in a mountainside. Any more questions? Number one, in the effort to bring back a sunnah which we have abandoned, in the effort to bring back that sunnah, we are doing this as a religious obligation, not as a commercial obligation. We are not concerned about whether this is a good investment or not. Yeah, there are people who write to me, you told us buy gold, now look what happened. We are not buying dinar and dirham as a commercial investment. We're doing this to fulfill a religious obligation. I told you Sheikh Nazim Qubrusi of the Naqshbandiya, for years now he's been asking his people to buy gold. But I'm glad that you asked this question, because I made a mistake and I want to correct it tonight. There is a hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ said about Akhirul Zaman that if you have land, hold on to your land. And if you have animals, hold on to your animals. So it's not only gold, not only dinar and dirham, it's land and animals. And then a man asks, O Messenger of Allah, what should we do if we have neither land nor animals? And he said, strike your sword on the edge of a stone and seek a way out. And I misunderstood. I understood that striking on the edge of a stone meant sharpening the sword. But I think you can forgive me for coming to that conclusion, when in fact it is the other meaning. I was told that striking your sword on the edge of a stone would mean damaging the sword, so that the sword would no longer be used for armed combat. So I want to correct that mistake that I made in my interpretation of the word strike your sword on the edge of a stone. So gold and silver, land and animals. Next question. I believe that Russia has two faces. One face of Russia is Magog, definitely. But the other face of Russia is Rome. And this is part of the divine scheme through which they are deceived. Because that part which is Rome is now coming up. And if Islamic scholarship was awake today, we would have delegations of Islamic scholars going to Eastern Europe, going to Greece, going to Moscow, and entering into dialogue with the Christian scholars of Rome, of Naqshbandi. Yes, Sheikh Nazim Qubrusi, he's called Nazim al-Qubrusi, he's also called Nazim al-Haqqani. He's about 90-something years of age now. He's a very old man, okay? And he is a Sheikh of the Naqshbandiya Sufi order. And when I asked the question, are there any Sufi Sheikhs who are talking about money? Then I remembered, yes, Sheikh Nazim has been speaking for a long time now about bringing back dinar and dirham. Concerning the age of Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, when it is alleged according to the hadith of Sahih Bukhari that the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam married me, that the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam married me when I was 6, and I joined his household when I was 9, meaning I became his wife to live with him, sleep with him at the age of 9. I wonder, why is it so difficult to understand? Is it really so difficult? We have the evidence from which this emerged. It was ru'ya. Ru'ya is a vision. And in the vision, the angel came with a tree, a golden tree, and with something on the tree, and with a silk cloth covering the tree. Did you not hear about this? And said, O Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, Allah has sent this for you. Uncover it. So he took off the silk covering, and there was Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha on the tree. Why is it so difficult to understand that Allah had ordained that she be his wife? Why is it so difficult to understand that if Allah has married you How can you have another marriage ceremony? How can you have another marriage ceremony here? Why is it so difficult to understand? When Allah has decreed a thing, then you have to submit, not repeat the marriage ceremony. If you believe that the Prophet ﷺ made a proposal of marriage to Abu Bakr Siddiq, radiallahu ta'ala, and he